It's one thing to not play defense late. It's another thing to lose both games in the series at home. What's worse is after you lose, Ty Lue, Paul George, no biggie, nothing to see here, no concern. Really? I've got eyes. I can see you can't stop Luka and you're down 0-2. I've got eyes. I can read. I know your history. Remember, the Clippers tanked the last two games to meet this team. And Paul George said last year, hey, we just need time together. All righty, you've got it. And now it's 0-2. The Clippers need to look themselves in the mirror. After last year, they blamed Doc Rivers. You are fired. Now he is coaching the number one seed in the East, and he has apparently been able to solve the matrix of Embiid and Simmons don't get along. And then they blame the bubble. Well, we don't have a bubble. And the Lakers won in the bubble, and you eroded. And they blame time. We just need time together. All right, they've had time together. And then it was Lou Williams' fault. And Montrezl Harrell. All right, they're gone too. And you've lost 5 straight playoff games. They're all gone. How's it feel this morning? You got to sort of look yourself in the mirror. Because I'll tell you what time doesn't solve. Paul George erratic history in the playoffs and Kawhi Leonard's lack of leadership DNA. Time does not solve those. And you know what's funny is that the Clippers don't have a history of winning. The Lakers, same building, have a history of greatness. And so when the Clippers were purchased by Steve Ballmer, they don't really have a book on how to do this right. They went out and said, let's just get 2 really talented guys. Does anybody love us? Okay, 2 guys fell in love with us. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. We want to be loved. We've never been loved. We want to be loved. 2 guys love us. Come on in. But the Lakers don't operate that way. The Lakers have always had great players. But the Lakers have only won titles when the great players were leaders. Wilt wasn't a leader. Jerry West was. They won a title. Kareem wasn't really a go-to leader. It was more Magic. Then for a decade, they won a bunch of titles. And then there's Kobe. And then there's LeBron and leaders. The Lakers, lots of players have fallen in love with the Lakers. Lots of players have fallen in love. But the Lakers have a history. They know what wins titles. When the greatest player is a leader. The Clippers just had 2 guys fall in love with them. Nobody ever falls in love with the Clippers. So they just said, come on board. And didn't really consider the leadership component. And you can see Rondo last night, who won titles with the Lakers last year and with Boston. You see him barking at Ty Lue. You see him barking at players. Because he can see the truth. This team doesn't have a leader. They're rudderless, but they're talented. And, so this idea that everything's okay, it's no big deal, we're going to get past this. I think Rondo's looking around and seeing what you're seeing and I'm seeing. And what does Steve Ballmer think of this? He owns the team, bought it for twice the value, reportedly. The Clippers spent $64 million on Luke Kennard. He was a DNP last night. And on Marcus Morris, they spent $64 million too, and he's ineffective. So Steve Ballmer's thinking, man, I wrote a lot of checks. One of the guys isn't playing. One of the guys is not effective. The 2 guys I thought were great aren't leaders. Ty Lue can't solve what Doc Rivers couldn't solve. I think there's a tension and an anxiety around the Clippers this morning, and it is not okay. Although Paul George, after, said it was all okay.
There is a competition. We got to rise to the occasion. Fact of the matter is, if we don't, we're done for. But there's no level of concern. I mean, we just got to play our game. We got to play through this. We got to incorporate our defense. Luka's gonna get his touches. We just got to do a better job defensively of just quieting everyone else.
If I was a Clipper executive this morning, I would update my LinkedIn. I would polish off my resume. It is not okay in the eyes of Steve Ballmer.